What's going on, guys? I'm the two-wheel teacher, and this is a 2016 Harley-Davidson VROD. I've borrowed it off the used lot of Tallahassee Harley-Davidson, and today I'm going to review it, take it out for a test ride, and give you guys my thoughts. The VROD was originally planned and developed starting at the end of the 1990s through to the early 2000s. And the Revolution engine was a joint project between Porsche, as in that Porsche, and Harley-Davidson's Motorworks. At the time, it was the most powerful V-twin motor that Harley-Davidson had ever put in one of their street bikes. Sadly though, the Harley-Davidson riding community weren't as receptive as Harley thought they were going to be. And after just over 15 years of production, Harley finally put the stop on the VROD. And so today, I'm here to find out, what is it about this bike that riders just didn't really take to? Why didn't a lot of them sell? And could it have been that the VROD was just a little bit too far ahead of its time for its own good? Let's find out.
The Harley-Davidson VROD first debuted in 2001, and it featured a water-cooled engine, a first for Harley, as well as 4-valve architecture, a 60-degree piston arrangement, and dual overhead cams. This Revolution engine, co-designed with Porsche's Motorworks, produced 115 horsepower, making it the most powerful street bike motor Harley had ever produced. The engine underwent hundreds of hours of pressure tests until both Porsche and Harley felt it had proven to be worthy of the streets. The tubular aluminum frame and styling were a massive departure from the laid-back cruiser styling Harley had been known for. The forward controls and shorter handlebars dictated an aggressive riding triangle, and the exhaust note was also a departure from the norm given the motor's brand new design. The VROD was revamped in 2007 with a larger frame to accommodate a 5-gallon fuel tank as well as a fatter 240 rear tire. There were special editions and designs as well as a CVO version. But in 2017, after 2 years of order-only production, the VROD was finally shuttered indefinitely, and it's time to find out why.
Alright, Harley-Davidson VROD. This is second iteration of the VROD platform. It's got this sick Vance & Hines full system on it. It just sounds mean, which means hopefully you can hear my voice over that, because it is. So right away, something, you're going to notice coming off of virtually any other bike, any other Harley, is that the riding position is very different. You're very far forward, super forward controls, like really forward controls. And because it's this 60-degree V-twin, it revs higher. The red line on my bike is about 5,500, and the red line here starts at 9,000. So there's definitely a difference there. All the mechanisms on it feel real good. The brakes feel good. The front brakes are super grabby, which is a good thing to know. Got to be careful with that. And the clutch pull is not very far. The clutch travel, it comes all the way in, but to actually get that clutch in and out, it's not a lot of travel. You can definitely get through the gears pretty quick, and it likes to rev. Ooh, she loves to rev. Holy cow. So it's definitely a very aggressive riding position. I was on both the Dyna Lowrider S and the Softail Lowrider S last week, and this is a similar seating position, but the handlebars are also lower, so your triangle is a little more, just a little smaller. Yeah, it sounds mean sitting at the light. I'll tell you that right now. Holy cow. This is not your granddaddy's Harley. I know some guys will put on, have put on like windshields and different bars to make them more comfortable on the highway. The way this one's set up at the moment, it's definitely not a highway cruising bike. Definitely an in-town, fun commuter, go out on the weekend sort of bike. And it's got plenty of power. What's so interesting coming onto this sort of bike, coming from like a touring bike, is that, on a touring bike, the gearing is a lot shorter. You don't get very far through the rev band before you're trying to find another gear, and so adjusting to this motor and adjusting to this performance is real interesting because your gearing is taller, Every gear will take you a little farther, get you going a little faster. So it's an entirely different style of riding. If you want to get the most out of this motor, get the most out of this bike, you have to change up how you approach your riding, because it's totally different. But it's fun. It's definitely a fun bike. And it's this really interesting 3-window info display down front too, where you've got this big old speedo that goes up to 150. You've got one sort of partial window for your fuel, and then same thing on the left, but it's your tack. So you've got this Vance & Hines 2-in-2 inverted forks, a really big fat rear tire, aggressive drag bars, really aggressive seating position, but it's really comfortable. I gotta say, like, the seat is really comfortable. I don't feel cramped. You know, I would have no trouble with doing, you know, an hour or two seated like this. So far, it feels really stable, doesn't feel too heavy. That bigger rear tire sort of means you have to muscle a little bit more to maneuver a little bit quicker with a little bit more snap, but it's definitely not a slouch as far as maneuverability goes. Yeah, it would be fun to get this thing up into the higher revs. Because right now I'm sort of shifting and riding as if it's a normal cruiser, and me riding it right now, it's not impossible to ride and enjoy this, having come off of, you know, sort of a more standard Harley, or at least a touring bike. But I'm sure, you know, given a few days on top of this thing, anybody could learn how to really get the most out of this bike, because it's really easy to ride.
Well, there you have it. That's the 2016 Harley-Davidson VROD. I think it was a fantastic platform with a power plant that really delivered, and a riding experience that was equal parts Harley-Davidson and muscle bike. And so I hope in the future Harley will consider bringing back something like this, because I think it fills a really important niche in the Harley-Davidson customer base. So what are your thoughts? If you've ever taken out a VROD or ever wanted to, let me know what you're thinking down below in the comments. And until next time, I'm the Two-Wheel Teacher, and I'll see you on the road.